School Board to order. The first item on our agenda is the approval of minutes. We have in front of us the minutes from the January 19th and 24th meeting. We will entertain a motion regarding those at this time. We have a motion by Ms. Johnson, a second by Mr. Courtney. All of those in favor, let it be known by a show of hands. Motion carries unanimously. The next thing we have is our expenditures. You have in front of those of your as well at the expenditures. Have been given time to look over those. We will entertain a motion regarding those at this time.
Second.
Okay, we have a motion by Ms. Johnson, a second by Ms. Dickinson. All of those in favor, let it be known by a show of hands. Motion carries unanimously. The next thing we have is our superintendent report, Dr. Crossley.
So we have many things on the report that will come out. The first thing is going to be our superintendent's awards. So if you give us about 30 seconds, we'll transition. And many of you are here for those awards, so give me a moment. I'll be with you. All right, a little bit later we will honor, as many of you know, the passing of Dr. Will Turner. That is coming as a part of the board meeting. Burl Henry has one honoree for tonight, so we'll acknowledge them. There'll be more to come in the future for them. But I want to front load this meeting by saying thank you. Thank you for being here. Life is always very short, and when we can support each other, support our students, support our employees, we're always going to be doing the right thing. So I love the fact that you are here. And even if I had told you recently, I love you individually. So the first person we'll honor tonight is Sherwood Williams of Hope. So they donated paint stirrers for our work to be displayed for the projects to be completed at Burl Henry Elementary. There's many events happening here recently, so they may not be here, but clap it up for Sherwood Williams. All right, next we have Romello Ford. Romello is a very quiet and soft-spoken young man on the campus, but when it comes to taking care of business, he speaks volumes. A very hard worker, will do anything asked of him. Romello Ford. All right, Darius Richmond. Is Darius Richmond in the house? All right, Mr. Darius Richmond is one of those parents that every school admires and loves to have as a part of the parental involvement and support team. Hey, looking good, man. Hey, pretty cool. Come on down here. What are you doing? He currently serves on the campus handbook committee and has never hesitated to do what it takes on his part when it comes to supporting our students. Mr. Darius Richmond. All right, next, we got the infamous Mr. Bobby Clark. Mr. Clark is a math teacher and varsity defensive coordinator for the football and head track coach for the boys and girls. He is a motivator and an inspiration to the students in sports, portraying that energetic carryover into the classroom. Mr. Bobby Clark. All right, next we have Ms. Rachel Holt. Ms. Rachel Holt is a very important asset to the high school campus. She provides support and encouragement to our students in their quest to score well on college preparation exams and enrollment in college classes. I don't see her here today, but Ms. Rachel Holt. Next we have Patricia Nelson. Ms. Nelson. There she is, right up. Ms. Nelson has volunteered. She is at every home game, literally every home game, to assist in training. She can be labeled as the Bobcats' most loyal fan. There you go. Most loyal, most loyal. Next is Ramsey Beck. I saw him up there. I thought, Ramsey here. There he is. Ramsey Beck. Hempstead County is a very short one. Okay? Hempstead County, spelling bee winner. Woo! You want to give us some? Okay. Proud grandmother up there. Proud grandmother. Dad, let's take a picture. Hold on now. You got it. Thank you. I know again for congratulations. Mike Bradley. Here is Mike Bradley. Contributions to our community coffee. This is for HAPS. So HAPS put on a community coffee as part of their public service component in their lane. They always do a great job. So clap it up for Mr. Mike Bradley. All right, next we have Ladera Hill. I didn't say Ladera, did I? But she's awesome. So Ladera Hill North Cross. This hill goes above and beyond every day to ensure her students are attaining the math skills that are needed. She's also coaching teachers on the other campuses. Ms. Ladera Hill. Lisa Vaughn. Lisa Vaughn. Lisa Vaughn, coordinating Mardi Gras decorations and staff events on campus. Ms. Lisa Vaughn. From the First United Methodist Church Companions Group. We have a representative from the First United Methodist Church here. Contributions also to the community coffee. Clap it up for them. Blakeland Ward from CPS. Blakeland is an excellent student and role model. She goes out of her way to help her peers. She is kind and encourages others to do the same. She strives to learn new information every day. Blakeland Ward. Renisha Randall. Engaging in her child's educational experiences every single day. Renisha Randall. Cheyenne Barton. There you go. Miss Barton has great rapport with her students. She has built relationships with the parents of her students, every single one. She's working hard in her first year to grow professionally. Cheyenne Barton. All right. Next we have Kathy James. Kathy James, come on down. Ms. James is a very dependable and willing to take on any task that is provided to her. Ms. Kathy James. Come on down. Next we have Delta Kappa Gamma. Here we go. Oh, okay, now we're there. Come on down. Delta Kappa Gamma, donating books for first grade students to promote reading at home. And representing Delta Kappa Gamma will be Mr. Wilker. I can see a lot of people from the top in the wedding over here. Thank you, ma'am. Obviously. Okay. Yes, ma'am. Yes, ma'am. Yes, ma'am. So I have one of these, so I'm going to put this right here. Step to the side. Sound good? All right, smile. Awesome, thank you. Clap it up for them. Jerry Taylor, there we go. This Taylor is very involved in her son's behavior and progress at TAF. She is always very supportive of the teacher and principal regarding any issues with her son. She is always willing to assist in any way that she can. Jerry Taylor. All right, next we have Austin Fisher. Okay? Austin Fisher. Austin is a very polite and respectful student. All of his peers and staff members at TAS. He works hard to complete his assignments. He is always willing to help out in any way that is needed. Austin Fisher. This is a four-parter, so we'll see if we have folks here from Durga Middle School. Kaylin Brown, J.J. Gully, Jalea Block, and Autumn Lenore. Okay, here we go. Okay. These students serve as leaders at YMS by participating on the Student Handbook Committee, which is not always the most attractive committee to be on. Okay, they're doing the work out here. They're very participatory and full of insight. Our work cannot have been completed without these outstanding students. That's all. Mr. Rayball, you want to give one as well? Clap up again. Mary Cooper. Okay? Ms. Cooper is an involved parent. She is never more than a phone call away and ready to make a difference in the lives of children. Thank you, Ms. Cooper. All right, now, I don't want to mess your name up. Okay? We have a new teacher with us this year who's doing a fantastic job in Durga teaching mathematics. Leonardo Collado. He will correct me wrong. Mr. Collado has stepped off. Has stepped off the plane, ready to go. He jumped right in to help with our math students. His energy and perseverance are a pleasure to watch. And a smile on his face. Mr. Leonardo, say your last name. Koyama. Mr. Rayball, what I want to do. I want you to stay right there. Perfect. Thank you. Mr. Diaz. Hey, thumbs up for Mr. Diaz. Mr. Diaz has the duty of running our ISS program at Durga. He is relentless, I love that word, in his attempt to make each day meaningful for our students. He could easily just ask for quiet. But attempts to help students make a difference each and every day. Mr. Diaz, thank you, sir. Thanks, sir. You got one again. Okay, Abraham Santamaria. Abraham Santamaria. He is doing his best. He has learned so much this year. He's trying so hard to be an excellent student at the Brickley Center. Abraham Santamaria. Lakeisha Jones. She's dependable. It always goes above and beyond to help our class with every single student. Lakeisha Jones. Nicole Stewart. She loves her students and cares about their learning and their family. She's a great example of a supportive co-worker, Ms. Nicole Stewart. Suzanne Shelby. She is the biggest part of anyone at our school. She is kind and helpful and loves every one of our students. Suzanne Shelby. And last one of the evening, Hope PD. Is somebody from Hope PD here? That is a shock. You want to come on down. They're usually here. Okay. Hope Police Department. They're always willing to go the extra mile when it's needed, even after hours. They drop by to make sure that our campus is secure. The Hope Police Department. All right. I think that's it. Guys, thank you for being with us for the amount of time today. The purpose of all this is to highlight the love that we have going on in here. Nobody's perfect, I'm certain not, but we appreciate you being here. Stick around. We have a good board meeting here. Great things happening in our district. If you want to leave, if you have dinner, by all means do. If you want to go to tailgaters, by all means go. They want to stick around? What?
Come on.
Who's that picking again?
All right, we are still in our superintendent's report. Dr. Preston.
So we have more to come on specific areas, so I will defer. We have a student report that's coming. Next month, we have some complications with scheduling, so we're going to forego that for next month. Next, if you're looking at your board report, we have a resolution for Dr. Roy Turner. So the funeral arrangements, going home ceremony will be for Saturday at 2:30. If you're watching this and you're an employee of the district, it's recommended you try to get there somewhere between 1:15 to 1:45 if you want to get a seat. I think it's going to really be a well-attended going home service. Fantastic human being, fantastic man. I love him. I mean, it's just wonderful to talk to and be around. We have a resolution ready on behalf of the board. I think Ms. Catherine Dickinson is going to read that since she worked with him for quite some time. And even she may tell you later if it has a little side story about even the paper that she's holding today. So without further ado, Ms. Dickinson, please present.
If you would allow me to share just a personal note, Roy and I did work together for many years. And when he was going back and forth to Fayetteville, to University of Arkansas, when he was working on his doctorate degree, well, he came home one time and he had this beautiful sad folio, whatever you call them, and it's got a Razorback right there, and he knows what a great Razorback fan I am. But I was going on and on about this folder, and he gave it to me. And I said, "No, you're not going to give that to me." He said, "Yes, I can give another one." He gave it to me, and I treasure it. And I'd like to read the resolution, please. Whereas the Board of Education of Hope Public Schools, Arkansas, met in special session on February 16th, 2023 at 5:30 p.m. in the Hope High School Auditorium in Hope, Arkansas. And whereas the board wishes to recognize and commemorate Dr. Roy C. Turner Jr.'s selfless service to the students and staff of Hope Public Schools, HPS. And whereas Dr. Turner received degrees from Hope High School in Hope, Southern Arkansas University in Magnolia, Henderson State University in Arkadelphia, and completed his doctorate in education administration at the University of Arkansas in Fayetteville. And whereas Dr. Turner pledged the distinguished Kappa Alpha Psi fraternity, where he was affectionately named Cold Breeze, -3 degrees. And whereas Dr. Turner served HPS in multiple roles, including as an elementary teacher, bus driver, assistant principal, and principal. And whereas during his 33 years of service to HPS, he showed an unwavering commitment to excellence and love for all, with a relentless focus on educating students from all backgrounds. And whereas as an administrator, Dr. Turner was a constant and reassuring presence in the halls and classrooms of Clinton Primary School and Burl Henry Elementary School, BHE. And BHE was recognized for high student growth and beating the odds awards for both the state of Arkansas and the Southwest Arkansas region under his leadership. And whereas in addition to his service to HPS, Dr. Turner was also active in his community, serving as a member of the City Council in Fulton and as a member of the Prince Hall Grand Lodge, obtaining his real estate license in 2004 and receiving various local and statewide achievements and accommodations. And whereas HPS staff and students will forever remember Dr. Turner's work to prepare students for success in the classroom and in life by instilling the importance of hard work, dedication, and self-worth, ending every school event by directing students and staff to stand and recite the school motto. I want to be somebody, I can be somebody, I will be somebody, because I am somebody. Now therefore be it resolved that the Hope Public Schools Board of Education hereby recognizes Dr. Roy Turner for his life of service and dedication to public education in Hope, Arkansas, and offers the district's condolences to his mother, Miss Cleona Turner, two brothers, Terrence Turner and Tony Turner, and a host of extended family, friends, current and former students, and current and former staff and colleagues impacted by his life of service. Dated the 16th day of February 2023.
So as we get prepared to have the school board president and the secretary of the school board sign that, we are prepared to present that at the arrangements and ceremony this weekend. We'll have that for the family. We just want the public to acknowledge what a wonderful presence and life Dr. Turner has been for this community. Well before I even got here, but in the small time that I've been here, just so impressed by his presence and his character. While we're doing that, I think it would be an appropriate time for the members of the board who are here today, if they would like to share any comments or memories they have of Dr. Turner. I think this would be an appropriate time. It's up to you. I know it's a very sensitive time.
I can only say that right now it's hard for me to speak because I love Dr. Turner. Dr. Turner his smile was infectious. It was just one that warms your heart when you met him. And I worked with young people in primary school. I worked with him, under him at Burr Henry. And he was a dedicated person. He loved what he did. He loved his students. He loved his teachers. And he will always be a part of my heart.
Thank you, Ms. Moss.
Both of my kids went through over at Burl Henry with him for a period of time, and he, without a doubt, wanted kids to enjoy school. And when we had a very minor problem, he was very quick to fix it. And his point was, we don't want kids to not enjoy where they spend a huge amount of time they do at school. And so, just nothing but respect and the things we've seen people share over the last few days, and just the impact he's had on so many. It's very evident of just the work that he's done for the district.
Well, I think I know Roy from the time that he in his employment with Oak School, and he was a very encouraging person, and I saw it as he elevated to the job of principal. And he never got discouraged. And he was a role model for our young minions. And he'll be great in this. And he was also a friend of Aki. So I got a chance to know him, and he was the same way all the time. Well, I think a lot of him.
Well, I'm gonna speak very short, so y'all don't get me all emotional. But I just loved how he loved kids. I'm sure he did the same for his staff and adults, but Lord knows it showed how much he really loved kids. I had the opportunity for my daughter to go to school there for 5th and 6th grade. Me and her, when I told her about it, he's a good man.
If we all would, just please have a moment of silence and remembrance of Dr. Turner before we move to the next item on our agenda. Dr. Turner, we love you, and we will see you again one day. The last item on the agenda for superintendent's report is the Star Academy presentation. So the Star Academy is a new program that we had earlier, and we will be having a more of a public showcase, if you will, coming soon. The 22nd of February, we will be meeting to decide when we will have an event. I will keep you very much in the loop on that, but the event will be a publicly facing one where school board members are obviously welcome and encouraged to attend. Local representatives, different community groups, Mr. Rickball is here when we plan that. We'll have a showcase where we'll walk in classrooms and see the Star approach there, and we'll have the regional NOLA Star folks from New Orleans come in and do some discussion there. We just had this conversation today. Keep in mind that this is the first year of implementation. So there's obviously hiccups here and there, like there is with any new implementation, but Mr. Rickball is really proud of the effort that the teachers and students are putting forth. We're just going to have, in some ways, a very public ribbon cutting. So you will be welcome to come and shake hands and kiss all the babies that you would like, and potentially I may wrangle some of you to speak on behalf of the school district at that time. So if you have any questions about that, feel free to reach out to me with more information. Will be forthcoming very, very soon. Do we have any questions at this time?
Any more questions? Moving on, the next thing on our agenda is the CSL Retention and Recruitment Incentive.
So this is something that we have discussed for months now, and we knew last year when we had signed on with CSL, we had a potential for recruitment and retention bonuses. Performance pay or performance bonuses is what they're considered on an ongoing basis. Our governor and the legislature are talking more intensely about that, so I think that's probably on your radar anyway. But for this year, the plan was and is to pay out the retention and recruitment bonuses in March, right before spring break. We did the first round with the ARP money at the beginning of the year, right? So to assist, and so the language is going to change a little bit for some of our other additional retention and recruitment bonuses, but I wanted you to be aware before we move on to the addendum that it's not an action item, just to be aware. Around $3,261, I think is what the amount came to. Those are averaged out with all the school districts that are participating. That is how much the recruitment bonus will be for teachers who signed on, who were with us last year, who also are with us this year. So teachers, you can expect to see that coming through soon. I see a couple in the audience there. You were here with us last year, and now this year, you can expect to see that amount. So I know we talked a lot about compensation and ongoing salary improvements, but this is something that I think is a win for our district and should be celebrated. So if you have any questions about that, it's not an action item. I just thought you should be aware since it's coming that time.
So teachers can expect to see those on their checks when
Next month.
in March.
In March,
Okay.
yes.
Thank you.
$3,261. And before taxes. Okay. Federal government, state government, gonna get there, but, okay.
They're gonna have a good spring break.
What did you say, 32 what?
3261. And that is if they were with us last year and then came on with us this year.
All right. The next thing we have is our budget approval.
Yes, so we have Mr. Jason Holzball from Stevens, who's going to come and have a conversation with us about the timeline and requirements for approved budget. As you know, we talked quite a bit about our financial analysis of our district and where we want to go, things that we want to see for capital improvements, salary improvements that we would like to see for our staff members, whether it's classified or certified. I think what could be good, and just give us one moment, Mr. Henderson, are we able to have a presentation from the side over here?
I'm sorry, do what?
Can we have a presentation? Is it possible to have a presentation? It's like a podium or something from the side?
Is there one? I think there's,
They want us to,
yeah.
There you go. Jim just want to show off how strong he was. That's all.
There you go.
Well, as always, it's a pleasure to be with you. As Dr. Crossley was saying, we got a couple items we'd like to talk to you about. I wanted to touch on two things this evening. When you look in the blue folder that you have before you this evening, there are two items. One is a financial analysis of the district, and I'm going to go through just a couple of items on that. And then secondly, we're going to walk through the proposed budget of expenditures, which includes a resolution as well as a couple of action items to discuss with you this evening. If you would, though, the first item I'd like to talk to you about is this financial analysis. It's pretty lengthy, so I'm not going to hit every single page, but if you were to open up your folder, you'll see that this is included in there. What this shows you is the similar types of information that you've seen in the past about your assessed value, the number of mills that you had, has some comparative data in there, etc. What you can see is that for the 2021 assessed value, the amount that you're getting your tax dollars off is approximately $203 million. Now, next year, when you get your new assessed value, that's going to change slightly, but you can see, looking at the trend lines, that you guys have been relatively flat as your assessed value has grown for the last 5 years. And then you'll see on page 3, this is your millage structure. So currently, Hope has 25 maintenance and operation mills and 9.7 debt service mills. And that mill is dedicated to exactly what it sounds like. If you remember, maintenance and operation, the revenues off those mills go to just M&O, maintenance and operation, and then debt service is going to actually service the debt that the district currently has outstanding. Now, one question you might ask is, well, how much does one mill generate for me as Hope School District? And you'll see that second bullet there, that based on your current assessed value and a 95% tax collection rate is approximately $193,000. So if you kind of want to think about this very roughly, for you guys, every one mill is approximately $200,000. So if you think about it that way, it's easy to do the math. When you see how does that compare to other districts in the state, you'll see next is the top 10 millage rates as of July of 22. And then you see where you guys fall is at 200 out of 235 school districts at 34.7 mills. Kind of break that down for you further. If you look on page 4, you'll see some more comparative data with other districts. The first table being similar enrollment to the district, and then the second table being probably more about what's going on in the surrounding areas. So when you look here on the second table, you can see kind of, look down there, you can see Nevada, you can see Mineral Springs, or you can jump around, Texarkana, etc. What's interesting about this table, though, is you'll see the assessed values. I've included those as well. So again, like we look at Texarkana, you'll see that their assessed value for 21 was approximately $499 million, or translates to approximately $500,000 per mill. So when you look at their millage rate, you say to yourself, well, their millage rate is pretty average, but they are generating more money off of their individual mills. So you kind of keep that in the back of your mind as we continue tonight's discussion. But I just want you to have that, because I know you probably get questions from the public asking, well, how do we compare to so-and-so? And there's some comparative data for you. What does that mean in terms of cost for the district? On the next page, it kind of gives you a breakdown of what one mill increase or what one mill would cost a individual within the district. Now, keep in mind, everybody's circumstances are different. It's really hard to say X, Y, and Z person, whatever that looks like. It's all going to be completely different. But what this kind of shows you is just a swag. If you had a total property value between your home and your cars and everything else for approximately $100,000 property value, that's assessed at 20%, which would mean that you're paying $20 on that $100,000 value. You'll see if you break that down, one mill costs per month about $1.67 of that $20. So again, those that have lots of property and high high assessment value is going to pay more, obviously, in property taxes than someone who might have a lower value. But this will at least give you a sense of what that looks like and what it translates to you as it relates to your millage rates. We've included some additional information in here so you can have it too available on page 6. It's just some your trends related to enrollment. A lot of your funding formulas are based on these numbers, and so we wanted you to have that. On page 7 is a snapshot of your current debt as of June 30th of 22, and so you can kind of see where you guys are as it relates to all of the outstanding debt. you'll look down there at the bottom to kind of put it in perspective. Your debt ratio is at a 10.1%. On average, districts throughout the state, that debt ratio is approximately 9 to 10%. So you're right there in terms of where the average debt ratio would be. And what that means is basically most all districts in the state have some debt. What we are always mindful of is how much debt do you have, and this kind of gives us a metric by which to measure that. So again, you guys are right there at the average. You'll see there on page 8, this is an actual overview of your current payments. So you'll see right now, currently, you have a payment of approximately $1.3 million. You'll probably ask yourself, well, why is the payment lower in the early years? For those that have been on the board, remember we refinanced a lot of your debt over the last years, and so you've been able to get that savings up front. So your payment will go back up, though, if you were to do nothing, to approximately 1.3 in the coming years. And so on page 9, I want to take a few minutes just to touch on page 9, because I think this is probably the most important table for you to remember. When you look at page 9, what this shows you is based on your current assessed value at 9.7 mils and a 95% collection rate, you're receiving revenues to the district of approximately $1.8 million. I just showed you what your current debt service payment is, and that's approximately $1.3 million. So if you subtract 1.3 from 1.8, that'll tell you how much coverage or cushion that you have available for your payments. That's important because what that does is basically if your assessed value were to go down, you have a little bit of cushion available to make sure that you can make your payments. And right now you have that available to you. And you can see after you get past the first couple of years, because of that savings that you guys realize, you'll see you're at about $500,000 to $550,000 as through the next couple of years in terms of your surplus debt service revenue. Now, we refer to it as debt service or surplus debt service revenue, but keep in mind, you're running the school district on this, so it's not like it's just sitting in a fund somewhere and it's not being used. It's definitely being used, but just from a legal standpoint, we're referring to it as surplus revenues. When we go forward, though, as you start to think about doing any type of millage increase or what additional mills are added onto it, this is very important because obviously if we're adding to the debt service millage category, that surplus revenue is going to increase and will be available for any permissible school purpose. So as we start to think about what number of mills we're adding and what that looks like, that's very important for you guys to understand in terms of how the cash flows will work to the district. The next couple pages has to do with just kind of millage elections and kind of what you can expect, the rules and the requirements. And I've included a sequence of events if you guys were to elect to move forward this evening with the proposed budget that's before you. And you'll see just kind of a sequence of events in terms of just what the next steps are. I want to stop for a second though and just kind of remind you of this. I know as elected officials you're very aware of the election laws, but you may not be as familiar with the millage election laws, which are a little bit unique. Under Arkansas law, you as a school district, as you know, are required to have a millage election every calendar year. That typically aligns with your general election, which is in May. However, if you choose to have an election for a millage question after the general election, your proposed budget of expenditures still has to be adopted 60 days prior to your general election under the Constitution, and that proposed budget has to indicate what your millage question would be. I bring that up to say, some of you may be wondering, hey, why are we talking about an August election and now we're talking about a proposed budget tonight in February? What's the reason for that? And there's a sequence of events that takes place with why we have to do it this way. And so that's why the discussion is being had in conjunction with your proposed budget of expenditures, which you adopt every year. So just want to make sure if there's any questions on that, I'm happy to stop and talk about that, but that everybody's clear on that point. So with that, this is the information, the financial numbers, the process, etc. that's in front of you. Before we move to the next item, let me see if you guys have any questions related to this or the numbers or kind of anything that you might have on your mind associated with this. So there's no questions. What we're proposing to do tonight, and I'm going to walk you through the proposed budget of expenditures. But what we've discussed is doing a millage increase of 12 mills for two parts. One for for teacher salaries increases, as well as capital improvement projects, not only now, but looking into the future for future projects. That 12 mills will generate excess revenues that will be needed to do all the things that we just discussed. So the proposed budget, this resolution you have is pretty detailed. You'll see on page 4 of what you have in the packet is the proposed budget of expenditures. By adopting this proposal tonight, what you're doing is you're asking the county to put on the ballot in August this question of a 12 mil ask to produce enough revenue initially to support a $19 million bond issue. Now you might ask me, well, you just said $5 million, why is it $19 million? Well, you have a couple of bond issues that are outstanding that what we want to do is restructure, meaning pull them into the current debt, and then because of interest rates and things like that, be able to extend it out over a period of time, over a 30-year period. And by doing that and paying off your current debt and adding the $5 million to it, it comes to approximately $19 million. That will keep your payment, it will be a little bit higher than before, about 1.4. You saw 1.3, it'll be about 1.4. But with the 12 mil increase, it will generate enough revenues available to support the teacher salaries that we've been discussing. So that's how we've arrived at those numbers. This language in the proposed budget will be exactly how the language appears on the ballot. So if there's any questions from the public, obviously we'll be available to answer those in the future. But just want you to know tonight, by adopting the language as you see, is what the language will look like on the ballot in August. So if you'll allow me, I just wanted to make sure everybody's crystal clear on this. When you look at that language on the proposed budget towards the bottom, you'll see after the numbers to provide for the foregoing budget of expenditures, the board of directors proposes a total school tax rate of 46.7 mils on the dollar of assessed value. You'll see that's 25 maintenance and operation mills. And if you were to go over to the next page, you'll see how that breaks out between 25 maintenance and operation mills, 9.7 mils, which you currently have, which we're going to keep because you're used to having that surplus revenues that are off of your current debt, and you do have some debt that's outstanding where those mills are pledged to that. And then adding 12 new debt service mills. If you were to go down to about a line item, it's about 6 lines up from the bottom of the paragraph, you'll see to support an amount of $19.1 million, which will mature over a period of 32 years.
What page are you on?
Oh, I'm sorry, this will be page 4 and 5 of the proposed budget of this particular, the resolution. Right after the resolution is the proposed budget of expenditures. You'll see some numbers there in the middle.
Thank you.
Yeah. And then the paragraph below that, again, just breaks down exactly what the voters are voting on. And you're indicating tonight by adopting the proposed budget that this is what you plan to do in the 24-25 fiscal year. Okay? And again, if you go to that next page and look, you'll see what those monies will be used for. Again, as I mentioned, about six lines up from the bottom of the paragraph, you'll see that it supports a bond payment not to exceed that $19.1 million, and it has to mature over a 32-year period. Now, keep in mind, this is a to not exceed amount. This is like going to the voters and saying, hey, this is what we need to do, but we can always issue less debt. We don't have to issue 19.1. If we came back and we only needed to do 18 million, you can do 18 million. You cannot go above 19.1 because the voters will authorize you in that amount, and you cannot go past a 32-year repayment. You would ask me, why would we ever do that? Well, the reason sometimes is maybe we get into the project, we decide we're going to do something, we get delayed, or there's a cost issue or something that we might need to delay the financing piece of it, and it gives you a little bit more flexibility that way. You'll see then going down, what is the purpose of this particular millage increase? And it is to refund or refinance the prior debt that we already talked about, as well as equip and make various capital improvements throughout the district. And then you'll see the last sentence, which is important. The surplus revenues produced each year by the debt service millage may be used for the district for other school purposes. So any other permissible school purpose, from teacher salaries to financing other projects in the future, down the road, etc. And then you'll see that the 12 mil increase will take you up to 46.7 mils total as your millage rate will be. And again, this is what will be on the ballot language in August. So let me stop there and see if you have any questions about that.
So currently, you said we are of 235 schools in Arkansas, we are at the 200th spot of the lowness of our current millage.
That's correct.
When was the last time, do you know the year that the last time we raised a mill?
Yeah, it was like 89, I think.
That's right.
We
Did
did,
you
we did
do a millage campaign?
back in 2014, 15, but all it was an extension. It
Was
wasn't
there any kind of
increase. So this would be the first time for an increase.
Since the age, okay.
Is this 12.0 mill increase, it raised our millage, it was the 46 months.
Yeah, so the 12 mils will then take your will be added to your current millage rate, and that will take it to the 46.7. Yes, ma'am. So there's no questions about the numbers and the actual proposed budget. What I'd like to do is just touch on the highlights. I know you've probably had an opportunity to review the resolution already because it was in your packet, but I wanted you to see just kind of what we're doing and walk you through it. Because we are going to hold a special election in August, there's some additional language here that you wouldn't normally see in your resolution. And it's pretty straightforward, but you'll see, for instance, like line item 4, at the annual school election will be held on August the 8th, 23, the members of the board. The special election will be held on August 23, supporting the proposed budget and proposed bonds shall be voted on. So we can have them, you'll see these different types of line items in terms of what's taking place here. So the board hereby retains the certain professionals that are involved. We'll work with the county to make sure everything is taking place in the way it's supposed to be. So with that, again, I'd be happy to answer any questions you might have.
Okay, let me, on point 4, I guess, this is point 4. Since our normal elections are held in May for school board, I just am wondering when the wording on that's not going to then make that, since it says the annual school elections should be held, to make that then the following, that would block us into moving our school elections from May to August going forward.
No, it won't. No, in fact, you can change legally speaking, you could change your election every year from May to November if you wanted to do so. You just have to let the county know if you want to hold it. So we've had some districts that want to have their village question asked at the same time as their annual election in November, for instance. And so
Prior to that calendar year, they'll actually move
the election. So yeah, we can do that. But no, it won't. And the bottom line is it won't change. So if there's no other questions, then Dr. Cross said I would refer to you for.
All right, so we've had discussion about improvements as a district for the 2 years that I've been here, and even in the onboarding process before I got here. And to be quite honest with you, board, you guys have been fantastic in supporting all of the larger efforts that we've accomplished, even up to the things that require private funds and foundation and everything else. One of the larger ticket items that we discussed, literally from the first day I was hired, was employee compensation, employee benefits, and some of our physical plans. And so, as Mr. Henry said, we've done a deep dive into the number of locations that we have versus the number of students that we have as a district. We presented the facilities, I presented with Maurice 2 times the facilities master plan with you guys. We have enough spaces to not have to build a brand new school location. It comes at an exorbitant price. This structure that we're talking about with Mr. Holzball today allows us to be set up to do wonderful things with our employees, both certified and classified, at a really great rate, separate and apart from whatever happens with the governor and the legislature, whatever they do. We will be able to have an adequate response that allows us to honor all of our employees. And in addition to that, there are things that we know are just kind of run down and older because of the wear and tear of the school district. So we've had improvements of different extracurricular facilities and different things. This will allow us to be able to do that better and also have money in the future to be able to make improvements to different facilities that we might not even know yet. So as we look at the plan, we are operating 3 schools that are around 300 or 200 and something students. So we're looking at how a smart configuration of all that looks in the future. We're looking at the number of classrooms at the high school with how we're looking at expanding all the offerings that the high school will have. I mean, the physical plant that we're in right now, upgrades to things like this that may be in addition to the magnet monies that we have. The last millage question that was asked was when Clinton Primary was built, and that was well, I guess technically it was built 31 years ago, but the millage question was 33 years ago. So there are improvements and upgrades that could be made there as well. As of right now, looking at the budget year to year with Ms. Flowers, we would not have that kind of flexibility in our budget based on our assessed value and the mills generated, the amount generated off of those mills. And so I've called Jason probably twice a week for 2 months now, at least, talking this thing through. We believe that this is a really smart resolution, a smart plan for our current debt service payment. So that'll make Misty very happy, but also responsive to the boldness and the need that Hope residents and Hope employees have mentioned that they want to see out of the board, out of the superintendent, and out of us as a community. I've heard some smart people and some who are even in this room mention that a community goes as the public school system, the healthcare system, and I've heard some other people say how the churches go, right? And what we're doing now, would do now potentially, would be investing in our public school system for the betterment of our teaching and learning, who we're putting in the classrooms, how we're supporting people in the classrooms, and student experience ongoing. For the next 5 to 6 years, the magnet grant allows us to expand those opportunities. This millage question allows us to even extend those opportunities more. Overwhelmingly, this is a proposal that will allow us to be able to do all the things that we have talked about wanting to be able to do as a board and in community focus groups and staff focus groups and student focus groups. The things that really gets us excited about being Hope Bobcats will be possible with this sort of passage of this millage question. So, as you know, I'm unbelievably excited about being here and having the support of the board with this even extends that. So I can speak more specifically about it. He's the expert 100% on this, but I've had to become an expert on this quite honestly, and feel very comfortable talking about this at whatever level that you would like. So I guess this will be a moment to have any discussion and then a vote on the resolution. Is that accurate?
Correct.
You've done a few of these, so walk me through the paperwork.
Yeah, absolutely. So I refer you, Dr. Crossley, in terms of making a recommendation to adopt the resolutions before the board this evening.
That'll be the same.
Okay. Comments, questions, anything? Anyone? I mean, I can say, at least for me, since I've been on the board, I can say that we have multiple times and in multiple years, well, every year, had conversations about how we can pay our teachers more, that we certainly agree that they deserve more, and that this seems like our best option of money that we can actually dictate how it's spent on the front end, and that, you know, we have we have a lot of phenomenal teachers in our district, and we have seen and lost some really good teachers as well, solely for a lot of times for a money issue, and this we're hoping will help keep and retain those really fabulous teachers that we have that have made a really good impact for our district, to let them know that we'll fight as hard as we can to find the money where we can, to spend it for all of our staff teachers, classified, certified, as well, because we've always thought it was important, and this seems like it is our best way to be able to help boost the value of teachers monetarily, but also just of importance, and let them know that how much we appreciate the work that they do. And so I'm hoping that this is seen with a positive response by the board and the community, because we do have some great staff working in our schools, and we would love to be able to pay them more. So.
Here.
Yeah, I just want to say, Dr. Carlson can probably tell you, since he's came on board, all I've called is teacher pay. And when I say teacher, I'm talking about classified and certified. But, you know, it's time for us to reach out there, and instead of being on the low or the medium, you know, I want to be up there. I want teachers who want to come to us. And I want to be able to keep these teachers. We get a lot of young teachers that stick around for a year or two, get some experience, and go off because we don't pay. Don't pay as well as other districts do. And I think this is an opportunity for us to be able to retain the teachers that we have. And I think it'd be a great recruitment for teachers to come. They deserve it. I say all the time, it's ridiculous how much our teachers in the state of Arkansas make. But I think we as a board and as a district are trying to get them the money they deserve. And hopefully it'll help us keep all of our good teachers and bring in more. I'm ready to go with it.
And before we go further, I will mention that I would be remiss if I didn't mention it. We've talked about this in different work sessions, and I've talked about this even publicly. The plan with all of these things working in conjunction is to make Hope the premier school district. And so I start with Southwest Arkansas, but it really extends out further than that, right? As we're implementing these things with fidelity, up into and including this sort of a millage question, it makes us even that much more attractive on both sides of the tri-state, or all three sides of the tri-state area. I think Louisiana employees, Texas employees, and the larger regional employees and parents of students will say, what's happening there? And that's deep down, this is what I want, even when we have dissenting voices, deep down, that is what we all want. We all want this place where so many people graduate from and have so much pride to be the apple of the eye of Hempstead County and of Southwest Arkansas, because we produce so many wonderful alumni and folks who are still right here in town doing the work every single day. You guys are prime examples of that. And so I could probably give a sermon on this topic, because I believe so deeply that Hope is primed for this sort of progress, and because it's for our students. Ultimately, this benefits our students 100%. So there's the salary question, but there's also the facilities question, which we all know is so vitally important, and the ability to be financially solvent to do even future projects, as we're talking about the ambitious changes that we want to see in the district over the next 5 to 10 years. So I'll be quiet now, but any other comments?
Questions?
Well, anybody that knows me knows that I love Hope, Arkansas. I've lived here all my life, and I support and will always support the Hope public school system. And I know it's a big undertaking. Dr. Crosby, we appreciate your leadership. It is a big undertaking. It's a big ask of our community members. And but I'm on board for it, and I think it's going to be a great thing if we get this done.
Okay, is the best way to do this to go to vote as a group and then sign individually, or to take individual votes as we go? And
I defer to you on whether you want to do individual votes or not. You could just, however you want to vote on it. I'll record the vote. You don't have to sign it. Just the secretary will sign attesting to the vote count. So however you want to do that, I defer to you.
all right, we have heard Dr. Crossley's recommendation. We will entertain a motion at this time.
I'll make a motion to adopt the resolution that's been presented.
Second.
We have a motion by Mr. Courtney, a second by Ms. Dickinson. All of those in favor, let me know by show of hands. Motion carries unanimously. All right, thank you, Mr. Holzbach. We appreciate all your knowledge and all your time.
Thank you for letting me be here this evening.
All right, I have been told we need to jump back up to, really briefly, to our CSL retention and recruitment incentive.
So it's a dual label there. So the CSL portion is what I mentioned is not an action item, but there is one small action item that you also have in your packet that you will see there. So if you'll go to probably what you were looking at anyway, which was the small paragraph that was there. That is the amendment, a small one, but I think a good one that we're going to make to our teacher recruitment and retention plan. So I'll just read this out loud really quickly because it is so brief. To assist in recruiting, hiring, and retaining effective teachers, particularly since Hope Public Schools is identified as a high-priority school district with a high percentages of students who do not meet the challenging state academic standards, the district will use Title II Part A funds to pay the cost of one state-required exam to fulfill teaching certification requirements for teachers for new hires. Additionally, the district will use Title II Part A funds to pay for the cost of one state-required exam for a teacher who is reassigned by the district to an out-of-licensed content area to be added as a certification for a different grade span or content area. So that's pretty self-explanatory, but I'll say this. There have been times where we've hired folks who are not yet certified, or it really does pose a really good rationale to move a teacher to an area that is an adjacent area, but the certification does not match yet, like an ALP situation. You guys have voted on those and talked about them. And our policy up until this point has not been to providing an ongoing assistance as we go. I don't know if this will be the tip of the iceberg or not. We'll look and see what our finances look like, but I think when we talk about retaining and supporting high-quality teachers and their employees, this is just a step in that direction. So it's an approvable expense from Title IIA funds, so it's not out of district operating anyway. We can budget it that way. We think this is just a smart move and will ultimately benefit our retention and recruitment strategy for teachers in the future. So that's a small amendment to our overall recruitment and retention plan. So if they have an Act 1240 waiver, they're all year to year. Long-term sub-waivers are semester to semester. 1240 waivers are year to year. The timeline they give to that is 3 years. We have an Act 1240 waiver covering 7 through 12. For the most part, what we're looking at is long-term sub-waivers. That is just an approach that many of our colleagues also have. If you're not making adequate progress toward being certified, teachers would not fall under the certified policy at that point because they are not certified employees. So non-renewal is still an option if you don't make adequate progress. And we're looking at that right now. I mean, unfortunately, there are some candidates who have been in a position and they're not making adequate progress toward that end. It is not a given that you will be renewed year to year if you are not making adequate progress and you are also not certified. So it's just a truism that we have in our system right now. If you don't have a certified staff member, you have to be making progress toward that. And right now for us, it can be semester to semester, year to year. Yes, ma'am. So she's referring to the Helena School District who had some state assistance that was provided because of unlicensed staff members. There are more rural areas in the state. Technically, Hope classifies them even though we're closer to some urban areas, urban-ish areas, where you have more uncertified staff members that apply. And there has been a movement statewide for an expansion of teaching spots for uncertified staff members. So this is to go back to kind of the main point earlier. That's why it's so important for us to support and recruit in a very intentional way so that we have, I would love to see a high number of certified applicants for every position that we have out there, whether it's PE or calculus. Like we want to have a high number of certified applicants all the time.
Any further questions? If not, we will entertain a motion regarding the retention and recruitment and amendment.
I move that we accept the addendum to the teacher recruitment retention plan.
Okay, we have a motion by Ms. Dickinson, a second by Ms. Johnson. All of those in favor, let it be known by a show of hands. Motion carries unanimously. All right, now we are,
Job description.
there we go, job descriptions.
All right, so you should have in your packet that was printed out the job description. So I met with the PPC this week and answered some lovely spirited questions about these positions. As you will know, this is big time. I mean, to get the $15 million and having additional positions that are a small portion of that. Folks want to know kind of what that looks like and when we can start the ball rolling on hiring. So there's a lot of different ones here, and so with the request of the PPC, we expanded them out to be individual campus-based where we could. So you'll see there are essentially those same three categories that we mentioned for certified, so the director, the coordinators, and the teachers. But we went ahead and took those out so you could see what they would look like. The first one is the campus magnet coordinator. Well, the first one should be the director, so it's in there somewhere. The director is for the entire district. The first one I had in my pack, I guess I got backwards, is the coordinator for the middle school level. So previously, you just had the campus magnet coordinator. Right underneath there, you'll see one that says elementary. You'll see one that says middle school, and you'll see one that says elementary school. So let's just start there. It will be the folks responsible for coordinating magnet expenditures and magnet programming on each campus, working a contract of 209 with a multiplier of 1.1.
Are they different? Because mine have.
Right, that's the challenge, bringing them all out. So there are, yeah, so there. That's right. That's why this recording section here is. This is the same thing printed over.
Yeah, the three was in magnet. So when you were saying that you have a director, I couldn't see, it don't say.
One should say director of grant management. Three of them will look the same and say campus management coordinator, but then they list different schools underneath.
Yeah, I didn't.
And then four will say magnet resource teacher, and then those are for 4 different campuses.
So in my packet, it is ordered as just physically in the packet. It is middle school certified campus coordinator. Is that what you guys have as your number one?
Yes.
Okay.
But I want to ask this word, is this going to be on a section like,
Yes, ma'am. So there'll be, every campus will have a resource teacher that will be paid for with grant funds. The high school and the elementary will have campus coordinators because of their size and their complexity. There'll be one based on size for the middle school campuses. So HAPS, Burl Henry, and Gerber will have one that's doing some of the coordination, but they'll have a resource teacher on each campus. So in total, there'll be 3 coordinators and there'll be 5 different teachers. And then there's the director. And so the PPC went through it. We talked about literally everything. They read through it, we even changed some of the language and took some things out, and some of them, based on the recommendations, this is what we landed on for next school year. With the idea of posting as soon as possible, as soon as it is approved, and start recruiting for next school year.
Do we have to act on all of this tonight, because we have not seen it, so do we have to act on anything tonight?
You could hold on. You could pause for a special meeting. You could wait until March. The only thing that I would say is the sooner that we get them out, the longer we'll have to recruit. We're trying to get really ahead of time for recruitment this year, so we have quite a few positions that we're gonna post that are just already in the works.
We're gonna do
For next year.
in-house
Yes, ma'am. So we're definitely going to consider in-house candidates for all positions, with the most qualified candidate for each position, getting that, job. That's the goal. But we could 100% wait off until two other board members are not here. If you wanted to pause, we definitely could do that. That gives me a heartburn. I would say I definitely would want to have them posted by spring break if we could not do a little bit before.
I agree with Margaret about waiting because we haven't had a chance to look at these, but I mean, if we need to do it before the March meeting, if we, get us together, that'd be fine, but I really would like a chance to look at it.
And just to relieve some of your thoughts, it could be a special meeting that's during the day, it could be a lunchtime meeting or whatever, because it's not personnel related, just give you a little bit more time. With the passing, this is just honest, with the passing of my grandmother and some of the things that have happened, this was a little later getting out. I didn't make the PPC meeting last week when they had it, so they were kind enough to fit it in before this board meeting. Waiting on this gives me absolutely no heartburn. I would just ask that if we could get together in a week or so or whatever, that would be great. It's up to you. I have a motion to table.
Okay, if we're interested in tabling it, it would be helpful to have a motion to do so.
I think we're going to table it and have a meeting.
There you go.
Okay, we have a motion by Ms. Johnson, a second by Ms. Moss. All of those in favor, let it know by show of hands. Motion carries unanimously. All right, that will be tabled until a special meeting sometime before spring break. All right, moving on, we have the Yerger Museum Partnership.
All right, so the Yerger Museum Partnership will be last minute strike there. So we have an MOU that we're working with the Yerger Alumni Association on, or student partnership there. They're going to get back with us on edits that they have. We thought they would have them back by today's meeting. They do not, but that's okay. We can wait and tackle that at a later time as well. But it's just really exciting. Yerger's East Group is taking that project on to where they're going to be student ambassadors. It's just going to be great. Like, it mirrors the Yerger alumni shirts that you'll see everywhere the crowd members having. The Yerger ambassadors will mirror that. They're going to understand the history of not only Henry Yerger as a literary man, but of the high school and its influence in the state, led by Mr. Redball and by Ms. Edgar Phillips. So we feel really good about that, but we'll just have to wait a couple of weeks until we have that finalized MOU.
All right, the next thing we have is lawn care recognition.
All right, so Mr. Henry is here. If he wants to talk anything about it, he definitely can. This is the lawn care provider that we've had previously. They do a good job with us. They're responsive. Mr. Henry has a great working relationship with them. I think they've had a contract for quite some time, and it's not because it's anything besides quality. So we put it out for bid. They, put their name in the hat, and they're being recommended to re-up the contract for this year.
Do you have any questions? If no questions, we'll entertain a motion regarding the lawn service contract.
This is the same service we use in the past.
Yes, ma'am.
Okay, the amount, is that more?
It is. It is right about the same. It was an increase. It was a prorated increase based on cost of supplies last year. Is this the same amount from last year?
It's the same amount.
Yes, literally the same amount from last year.
I make a motion to accept the recommendation for Oak Lawn Equipment and Services.
Okay, we have a motion by Mr. Courtney and second by Ms. Moss. All of those in favor, let it be known by show of hands. Motion carries unanimously. All right, we now have facilities rental requests.
All right, so we have two here. One is from Southwest Arkansas Taekwondo. I think we should probably just take them separately. The first one is for competition on those days. They will not be using the concession stand. I got approval and update on that. So this is just for the usage of the facility. You have the number there. Again, we have a new approval process this year working with our internal staff. So it's been approved 3 times before it gets to me. So it was approved by the principal, facilities director, the athletics and activities director, and then it comes to me. So we feel good about the approval process, even though it takes a little longer than it has in the past. There's multiple eyes looking at it. We will ultimately touch facilities rental anyway. So that's the first one there recommended for approval.
Any questions?
Right, so it's my understanding the second one will be the high school as well. Mr. Henry, the Common Hill's the high school, correct? Cafeteria, yes. So again, if we want to take these separately, I want to do that. I mean, if we can take them together if you want to, but I think historically we've done them separately.
I'd like to make the motion for the soccer, so.
I want to,
Offer empty facility.
Sick.
Okay, everybody second. All right. Motion by Ms. Johnson and second by Mr. Courtney. We'll say since he is farthest from me, and to accept the facilities rental request for Southwest Arkansas Taekwondo. All those in favor, let it be known by show of hands. Motion carries unanimously. The next one we have is for the Common Hill Baptist Church.
yeah, so this is, falls in the category of nonprofit that our new policy outlines pretty clearly. So we have a model policy that we took from a couple other school districts, so we felt comfortable approving this on 3 levels because it falls in the category. This is for homecoming banquet with the number around 60, and again, using the Hope High School cafeteria. So the recommendation I'm putting before you today is to approve this for June 24th, 2023.
I move that we, are you ready?
Yes, ma'am.
Oh, sorry. I move that we grant the facility rental request for the Common Hill Baptist Church.
Second.
Okay, we have a motion by Ms. Moss, a second by Mr. Courtney. All of those in favor, let it be known by show of hands. Motion carries unanimously. The next thing we have is, hold on, let's check on. All right, the next thing we have is personnel.
Right, so we have just a few items, and this is not the time of the year where it really ramps up yet, but we have a few retirements and resignations and then hires. So you'll see, I'll explain them from a 30,000-foot view if you want to go to executive session, that's up to you guys obviously. But the thoughts are, we want to get ahead of the game on retirements and resignations. When someone says, hey, I'm thinking about retiring, or hey, I'm thinking about resigning, we want to know that so that we can follow through and so go ahead and post those positions and recruit. So just to give you a point positive, next Friday, literally, I'll be at a recruitment fair. And I want to have some of these positions posted so I can walk into the recruitment fair and say, all right, guys, we actually have you'll see some of these open. Would you be willing to apply? And then have a link to the application right there. So you'll see just a few retirements and resignations. Similar to last month, you'll see some of these there that are just for tutoring. That's been our practice to put tutoring there as a just on the agenda for the personnel packet. You'll see one hire there that is a familiar name. We feel comfortable with those, but it's up. However you want to handle that, it's up to the board.
It states it on the first one, that, they're going to retire at the end of the year.
Yes.
These other two, are they going till the end? Are they
Yes,
finish out the year?
that's a great question. All of these are effective at the end of the year.
Okay.
Yes, ma'am.
Do we have any general questions? Any asking open session? Does anybody need to go into executive session to ask more personnel questions? Or we can entertain a motion, any of those 3 options.
Madam President, nobody executive session. I'll make a motion to accept the personnel packet as presented.
We have a motion by Mr. Courtney, a second by Ms. Dickinson. All of those in favor, let me know by a show of hands. Motion carries unanimously. Great, we have a superintendent contract renewal to discuss.
So what we may, yes, we do, but what we may want to do is we have student hearings as well. So I think we have 3 student hearings, we have 1 here, that we may want to do first. All 3 have indicated they would like to have a closed meeting. I just think for the sake of parents' time, that might be the best use of, the next 2 agenda items.
Okay, then we will close the meeting to the general public, and only keep in the room those who are directly responsible and representing those students at this time.
And while we do that, we'll go ahead and get the signatures required from Mr. Holtzclaw so that
For the remainder of the calendar year, board, your options are to either reject, accept, or modify Dr. Crossley's recommendation. We will take a motion regarding that at this time.
No. If there's no other question, Madam President, I'll make a recommendation to accept the superintendent's recommendation to send this young man to CATS for the remainder of this school year.
We have a motion by Mr. Courtney, a second by Ms. Moss. All those in favor, let it be known by show of hands. Dr. Cross and his office will get with you about what your next steps will look like in the next day.
So the combination between Ms. Stewart and Ms. Coulter will get with you tomorrow. So Ms. Coulter will probably get with you tomorrow for intake to get in. Meet the teacher. It's a school, so you'll get a chance to see everything's going on, and I think you'll be pleasantly be pleased. Right. Of course. Of course. That's totally fine.
Do you know from the board, like, our goal, we fully recognize that in any situation, anybody can make a mistake and all that. There are consequences of those things, but that our goal is for every kid to go to school and get a quality education and to feel safe while they're there. And so we want that for your student. We also want that for all students. But so the vote that we took tonight, we feel like your child will be getting high quality education, will be taken care of, will be watched out for, will make friends, like we'll be in a good environment for him as well. So don't feel like he's not going to be getting those things just because it's going to be at a different location. There are kids over there that are thriving. We've had kids over there that have received credits early, and some kids who are over there for all sorts of different reasons that, and so just know that we stand behind the program that's going on over there and the education and the staff that is over there. So, if you have any questions, feel free to go visit and hang out, meet and see what's going on. But we do really view that this is going to be a good situation in light of that situation.
Thank you, guys. Appreciate it. The next 2.
If you like to, go ahead.
The next 2 are closed as well. Parents are not here. We still handle it.
Is everybody from the room again to go into a closed hearing for
already. I think it'll be led by.
Okay, we are back in open session after discussing a student hearing. The recommendation from Dr. Crossley is to recommend to send the student to CATS for the remainder of the calendar year. Again, we have the option to reject, accept, or modify. Yes, is that what I said?
Yeah.
Oh, starts for the remainder of the calendar year. No, the remainder of school year. We have the option to reject, accept, or modify Dr. Crossley's rejection. We will entertain a motion at this time.
Second.
Okay, we have a motion by Ms. Johnson, a second by Mr. Courtney. All of those in favor, let me know by a show of hands. Motion carries unanimously. We now have a third student hearing, and we will invite the audience to excuse themselves, and then we will bring them back in when we are done discussing the student hearing. All right, we are back in open session from a student hearing. You have heard Dr. Crossley's recommendation to send the student to CATS for the remainder of the school year. You have the option of accepting, rejecting, or modifying his recommendation. We will entertain a motion at this time.
So I recommend that we accept the superintendent's recommendation of CATS program.
Second.
We have a motion by Mr. Courtney, a second by Ms. Dickinson. All of those in favor, let it be known by a show of hands. All those opposed? Okay, motion carries 4-1. All right, the next thing we have on our agenda is the superintendent contract renewal. Oh, we done that already? Okay. Okay. All right, yes, okay. So we will go into executive session to discuss personnel of the superintendent. All right, we are back in open session. After discussing the superintendent's contract, we will entertain a motion at this time. For a long meeting.
I'd like to make a motion that we should have a contract. To make sure that, I have a year to make sure that he have a 3-year contract every year. So,
Okay, we have a motion by Ms. Johnson, a second by Ms. Moss to extend Dr. Crossley's contract for an additional calendar year, which will leave him a 3-year contract. All of those in favor, let it be known by a show of hands. Motion carries unanimously. Is there anything else before the board?
I think that's it.
All right, are we standing?
Oh.
Oh,
I said,
I just closed my agenda, so,
that is it.
okay, we stand adjourned.